We are told that Teresa consumes both bagels and toy cars, and they tell us that the table above shows Teresa's marginal utility from bagels and toy cars. And the first question is, what is her total utility from purchasing 3 toy cars? So pause this video and see if you can answer that. All right, now let's work through this together. So let's just make sure we understand this table here. So this says that the first bagel that Teresa consumes, she gets 8 units of marginal utility from that. Then the second bagel, she gets a little bit less marginal utility. Some of her bagel craving has already been satisfied by that first one. And then the third bagel, the marginal utility goes down a little bit, and then that keeps happening for each incremental bagel. And on the toy side, we see that first toy, she gets a lot of marginal utility, 10. And then the next toy gets a little bit less. And then you see that the marginal utility for each incremental toy gets a little bit lower and lower. So now let's answer the first question. What is her total utility from purchasing 3 toy cars? Well, that first toy car, she gets a utility of 10. Then that second toy car, she gets a utility of 8. And then that third toy car, her marginal utility for that incremental car is 6. So the total utility is going to be 10 plus 8 plus 6, which is what? 10 plus 14. This is going to be equal to 24 units of marginal utility. All right, now let's do part 2. Teresa's weekly income is $11. The price of a bagel is $2, and the price of a toy car is $1. What quantity of bagels and toy cars will maximize Teresa's utility if she spends her entire weekly income on bagels and toy cars? Explain your answer using marginal analysis. So once again, pause this video and see if you can figure that out. All right, now let's do this together. And I'll scroll down a little bit so I have some space. So the key thing is once we know the price of a bagel and the price of a toy, and we know the marginal utility for every incremental bagel or toy, we can figure out our bang for our buck. We can figure out what is going to be the marginal utility per dollar from that incremental bagel and that incremental toy car. And so let's just explain first. So Teresa will maximize her marginal utility per incremental dollar. Per dollar, or let me put it this way, per dollar when making purchases on the margin. Making purchases on the margin. So her next incremental purchase. Her next incremental purchase. So we can write over here bagel marginal utility per dollar. That'll be one row here. And then we could write car or toy marginal utility per dollar. And then let me set up these rows right over here. And then we could think about it for the first one, for the second one, for the third one, for the fourth one. Let's see, we go up to 6. Fifth one, and then we go to our 6th one. So let's start with bagels. Bagels cost $2. So that first bagel, she gets 8 marginal utility units. Well, that's going to be 4 marginal utility units per dollar. 8 divided by 2. So that's 4 units per dollar. And then that second bagel, she gets 7 units, but it costs $2. So it's 7 divided by 2 units per dollar. So that's going to be 3.5. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that 5th bagel, 2 marginal utility units per dollar. And then that 6th bagel, 3 divided by 2 is 1.5 marginal utility units per dollar. And now we can think about toys. Each toy is $1. So if she gets 10 marginal utility units from that first toy, it only costs her $1. So it's 10 utility units per dollar. So it's 10 there. It would be 8 here. We're just dividing each of these by 1. So 6 here. So it's going to be the same number again. 4, 3, and 2. So now that we set this up, and let me scroll down a little bit so I have a little bit more space, I have all the data I need, we can think about what would be rational for her for thinking about how she's going to spend that $11 per week. Her first purchase, she's like, wow, from the get-go, that if I'm picking between bagels and toys, that first toy has a much higher marginal utility per dollar than that first bagel. So she's going to start here. And then she says, okay, next, do I want to buy a bagel or a toy? But even that second toy, the marginal utility per dollar is still higher than that first bagel. So then she'll buy a second toy. Then she'll think about it. And so far, she's only spent $2. So we have a lot of money still left. Then she'll think about, okay, do I want to spend that next incremental amount on a toy or a bagel? Well, still, she gets more marginal utility per dollar from the toy. So she'll spend that. She has spent $3 so far, $1, $2, $3. And now, when she thinks about how to spend her next few dollars, she said, well, now I'm indifferent between bagels and toys. The marginal utility per dollar is the same. So she might maybe spend the next one on a toy. And then right after that, she'll go to bagels finally and buy a bagel. Well, let's think about how much she has spent so far. She spent $4 on toys and $2 on bagels. So the order might look something like this. And then she goes and maybe buys her bagel. And now the marginal utility per dollar for that incremental bagel is higher than for her next toy. And so then she would buy another bagel right here. And let's see how much money she has spent. 2 bagels are $4, plus she spent $4 on toys because they're $1 each, so it's $8. So she still has $3 to spend. Now her marginal utility per dollar is neutral between bagels and toys, between the incremental, that third bagel, and that fifth toy. So she's indifferent between the two, so she could probably get both of them. So she might do something like that, buy that, and then she could buy that, or she could do that in the other order. And let's see how much money she spent. She has spent $5 on toys, and she has spent $6 on bagels, and so she has spent her $11. And so to answer the first question, so she would buy 5 toys, and 3 bagels, based on this strategy of maximizing marginal utility per dollar for each incremental purchase. Did I answer all of the questions? We said the quantity of bagels and toys that will maximize her marginal utility if she spends her weekly income, and then we have explained using marginal analysis. Yep, we're looking good.